Greetings, welcome to Facts About Everything. I'm your host, James Egan. Today we'll be looking at the 32nd American President, Franklin D. Roosevelt. His middle name was Delano. He developed polio when he was 39. Roosevelt was the first president to fly in a plane while in office. He was also the first president to have his own plane. The fact that he has the same surname as Teddy Roosevelt is not a coincidence. FDR was Teddy Roosevelt's fifth cousin. Not only was he related to Teddy Roosevelt, but he was related to his wife. Kind of. His wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, was Teddy Roosevelt's niece through his brother. He was homeschooled until he was 14. He ran for vice president in 1920, but failed to secure the position. He had a Great Dane called President. He had a cottage in Warm Springs, Georgia. It was called the Little White House. FDR had many famous quotes, but the most famous of all is the classic, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." Winston Churchill's doctor, Lord Moran, saw FDR on February 18th, 1945, and told Churchill that Roosevelt was a dying man. He died less than 2 months later. Roosevelt is the only president to serve 4 terms. Well, technically 3 terms and 1 month, since he died in the first month of his 4th term. Roosevelt was so secretive about his polio to the public that only 3 photographs exist of the former president in his wheelchair. He was president for over 12 years. He is the first handicapped president. Roosevelt spent years trying to find a cure to polio. His commitment allowed Jonas Salk to develop a vaccine for polio, making the disease nowadays almost non-existent. Thanks to intense exercise, determination, and leg braces, he could walk without assistance for brief periods of time. There are some doctors that say that FDR may not have had polio, but a separate disease called Guillain-Barré. Even if that was true, it doesn't change the fact that he did almost eradicate polio worldwide thanks to his work and generosity. Giuseppe Zangara tried to shoot FDR while the president was delivering a speech in Miami, Florida. Even though Zangara fired 6 times and Roosevelt was in a wheelchair, the president didn't get hit once. How did Zangara miss? Well, he was 5 foot tall and he was standing at the back of the crowd. Realizing his diminutive size was causing a bit of a problem, he decided to stand on a wobbly chair. He shot 5 people, killing 1 before he was subdued. Roosevelt was obsessed with collecting stamps. He had over 1 million at the time of his death. He was one of 8 presidents to die in office. Since women could only vote in the early 20th century, Roosevelt's mother is the first woman to vote for her son to be president. He had the first female cabinet member. He was the first president to have private tapes recording conversations in the White House. FDR died from a stroke while having his portrait taken. Roosevelt's poor health was completely unknown to the public up until the time of his death. His final words were, "I have a terrific headache." After his death, the New York Times declared in an editorial, "Men will thank God on their knees 100 years from now that Franklin D. Roosevelt was in the White House." Special thanks to these fine people for all their help. Be sure to subscribe to Facts About Everything. Follow me on Twitter for updates on upcoming videos. Check out my Facebook page to let me know what subjects you want me to talk about in the future. Thanks for watching. See you again.